Okay, hi everyone, welcome. My name is Fatima, and I want to give everyone a welcome to Ayni if you're here for the first time. Ayni is a training center that's focused on education and research related to social change, social movements, and a lot of the folks that we work with are involved in social change in different ways. They're leaders, there's organizations on so many social issues that exist in our country, but also internationally. And at Ayni, we believe not just in political and economic shifts that need to happen, but also a spiritual awakening to really, that supports our resilience and our sense of purpose for the long haul. And so that's why we're really excited to have here Father Richard Rohr and Dawson here to support us as well from the Center for Action and Contemplation. And I'll let Dawson introduce Father Richard.
Conversation. Since I don't know what context everyone is coming from, I'll say a little bit about Richard and his life and work. And then, of course, you can add anything that you think feels important. But Richard is a Franciscan friar and priest who founded the Center for Action and Contemplation in 1987. And the sort of vision for the center was an institute that would hold the integration of inner work and outer work as sort of necessary for completing a sort of holistic vision of transformation, really rooted in Richard's interpretation of the gospel and so much of what he learned from the Franciscan tradition. So the CAC is sort of in this personal transformation space where we're trying to equip people with the inner resources to engage in a life of social change and service. Richard, is there anything else you would say about the center, and then I'll talk about our relationship with Ayni?
It's more than enough.
Okay.
But it builds the link between
Yes.
a group like you. That's what you're doing,
Yes.
from what I can hear.
Yes. Well, before we jump in substantively, too, I'll share a bit about CAC's relationship with Ayni. Part of what's so exciting about this conversation for me is having been really steeped in Richard's work and then encountering Ayni's frameworks, the movement ecology frameworks. It felt like a strategic framework that mapped onto the sort of spiritual foundation that Father Richard gives and teaches. So when I think about CAC's partnership with Ayni, one, there's a debt of gratitude for teaching us the frameworks, for helping us clarify our theory of change, and sort of resolving all the tensions that sort of come around that. So there's a practical debt of gratitude to Ayni, but there's also a sincere excitement that one of the things that Richard teaches fairly regularly is that the medium and the message have to be the same in terms of your engagement with the world. And Ayni is one of the partnerships to me that most deeply embodies that both the quality of presence and the substance of our engagement sort of have to be mirrored. So it's super exciting for me on a personal note to be in this conversation.
Thank you.
I'll pass it to Fatih.
Thank you so much, Dawson. So we have the next about hour and a half with Father Richard, and Dawson and I are going to start out asking questions, and then we'll open it up to all of you if you have any. I actually wanted to begin maybe early. I know you just came out with a book, and we're very excited about it. We're going to talk about it, and because for me this feels like such a gift and opportunity to have you here, and I'll give a little bit of context to that. My mom is a devout Catholic. Like, she goes to church every day. She prays the rosary every night.
Wow.
She's just she's also a community organizer. So I think that's her way of also living into her faith. And because of her, so she's from Mexico as well. So because of her, I know about liberation theology and the impact it had in Latin America. I also know about the Franciscan order in particular, because they're an order of priests in the Catholic Church that are very committed to the poor, to justice, to service. many of us in this room, because I know a lot of the faces, have committed to social change. We've been through various things, but we've made a long-term commitment to creating positive change in the world, to changing our society. And so I wanted to start really from the place of your own journey, and what were the moments or the things, or how did you commit to that path of the Franciscan order? Yeah, maybe today it feels like something that's like, whoa, that's huge. I don't know if it did back then too, but could you speak a little bit to that commitment and committing to priesthood, in particular with the Franciscan order?
Well, thank you. That's a good place to start. It was more a discovery than it was a commitment. It took a while for the commitment to come, and now I'm 82. I wonder, have I committed myself yet? I'm still discovering. You know, I don't know how much you know about the history of religious life in the Catholic Church, but the first model for the first 1,200 years, are you familiar with my paradigm of order, disorder, reorder?
Yes, but you should still share it.
Well, the first model was order. In fact, so much so that's what we were called, religious orders and holy orders. We gave an ordered path in the great big Christian world of the early Middle Ages and through the Roman Empire. If you accept that, what Francis of Assisi is, any Italians here? No? No? I thought there were a lot of Italians here.
You're in the more Latin American neighborhood of Boston.
He's the patron of Italy. So they even have to come and visit Assisi to graduate from some schools. Anyway, if you're going to take the paradigm of order, disorder, reorder, we would represent disorder. We were breaking of the whole model of live together with a patterned prayer life, a patterned daily schedule, so much so that we weren't sure we were in order. And Rome wasn't either. Now, Pope Francis would have been, which is why he took the name Francis, of course. But we broke all the rules. So we were very suspect in the beginning, because Francis's big thing was solidarity with the marginalized. If anybody been to Assisi ever? You can't get a bad meal there, and you can't take a bad picture. It's beautiful every direction.
So that was disorder.
I lost
You
my
were a
train
part
of
of disorder. Okay.
I was going to say something else.
That the Franciscans were novel in the sense that you weren't committing to a structured prayer life.
That traditional. And someone called the early Franciscan rule tips for the road, because we were very traveling, moving. Francis's big thing was to go where the suffering is. Started with the lepers there in his hometown, who were down the hill from where he grew up. And he moved down there from Upper Assisi to Lower Assisi. And that changed everything. If you go there, I hope you're able to someday, you'll see this giant monstrosity of a church, which the Italians are wont to build. And you go running, and your eye is drawn inside to a little tiny chapel built right in the middle of it. That's the church he rebuilt physically. You can even see the poor stonework from someone who didn't know how to be a stonemason in the upper levels of it. But he wanted us to make that our home, so we were in solidarity with the poor, not just talking about them from a distance. And that was key to the early order. Now in Catholic theology, we call that the preferential option for the poor. You've heard the phrase, yeah. But it wasn't new to him. It was an insight, but a new insight. Well, what the orders were able to do before that was serve the poor. They'd have maybe a soup kitchen on the edge of the monastery, but the idea of identification with them, to learn from them, to be taught by them, to look at life from a different angle, that was the original Franciscan insight, and why we didn't look very orthodox. It's the same suspicion the last 15 years had of Pope Francis. He didn't look very orthodox. And the irony is he was Jesuit, smart and educated, you know. So we got off to a rough start, but Rome protected us, thank God, because Francis apparently was such, if you've read a life of St. Francis, he's one of the more attractive saints. He loved animals, he loved nature, he loved Muslims, which was not common in Italy at that time. He didn't create barriers because he didn't see religion as a set of purity codes to earn God's love. He knew that we come to God through our woundedness, as today's gospel says, if you went to church today. Thomas showing and touching Jesus' wounds is Jesus giving what Whoopi Goldberg, I found out, called the primary, the original narrative, not
Original program.
Program, yeah, the original program. So we'd like to think Francis got us back to the original program. That wasn't just malice, but the only way you could survive in such a violent world as the Roman Empire was you had to look for safety, for someone who was going to protect you. And so we identified with the emperor in every country. Then it became the Spanish Empire, the French Empire, here the English Empire, now the American Empire. Just the opposite of what Francis was doing. Always, we needed an empire to keep us safe. When you move in with the empire, you start thinking imperially, which is what we're facing in America now. It's such, I don't want to get negative, but it's hard to rediscover the original program. It's all, and this is true of every Protestant denomination too. They came to reform us, and they did, but they didn't. It still was identification with power. So for us as Franciscans, that was key. And it sounds like you've discovered that, so I don't need to preach to the choir. But for most people, that's a new idea, utterly new idea. What we called, what we were even taught as young friars, was, my new book is on the prophets, as you know. We were to be soft prophets, not railing, shaming, thinking we were holier than thou, but to say hard things in a sweet way, a soft way, a hearable way, so people didn't feel so judged. I don't know the history of Massachusetts as well as you do. Was Cotton Mather from here? Or that, you don't even know the name. Oh, yeah. Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God is his book. sinners and the hands of an angry God. Who would want to join that? Especially if I do a lot of men's work. If you had an angry father, or an angry mother for that matter, but if your early authority figures were angry, and then we come along and say, God is angry too, there's no conversion going to take place. You're just going to change from the model of family to religion. And you expect the priest or the minister to shame you from the pulpit. Thank you, Father. Hit me again. Hit me again. That's why I wrote this latest book. Because that is not, we have at least one Jewish man here. Are you the only one?
2 more. 3.
See, the Jewish prophets, they started angry. So, oh my God, that's why most people shut the book. It's just you get tired of being yelled at for how terrible you are. So the Jews shut the book for the most part. We Catholics came along and shut the book. No one likes to be judged, but you got to stay with them. That's my point in the new book, because their anger turns to sadness. And when your anger morphs into sadness, where you don't hate the world, you just, how can we so miss the point? What has happened to the Jewish religion, the Catholic religion, the Protestant denominations? Now, I don't know if it's like this in Boston, but in New Mexico, which had a long Catholic history from the Spanish, people are leaving much more than they're joining. It's not attractive anymore because they still think that God is an almighty judge. And the end of life is a giant courtroom scene. What I call in this same book, reward punishment system. A reward punishment system is just capitalism. That's all. It's an economic system we've grown used to, transferred to religion. And that's why most people don't call it into question. Because that's the way we think. Successful people earn rewards, money. Unsuccessful, stupid people get punished, and they well should. I'm afraid we too often think that way. So we got our work cut out for us, because it's not just a matter of changing religion; it's changing the culture. Has anybody read the book yet? No, you just had it available. I'm not here to push my book. I'm not. But what you see in the prophets, starting with Amos in the 8th century before Christ, is they localize evil, not like we tend to do in bad apples. They localize evil in the collective culture. I counted in Amos 36 accusations against cities or towns or regions. For those of you familiar with the New Testament, Jesus does the same thing. You Bethsaida, you Chorazin, you Capharnaum, you Jerusalem, will you be raised up to heaven? You'll be dashed down to hell. That's why nobody wants to read the prophets, because they start with these terrible angry judgments. But what no one pointed out to me till I studied it for the prophets for years. Like, let's make it very apropos to today. If the Jewish prophets were here, they would not waste their time criticizing Donald Trump. They would say, what is the culture that can elect a Donald Trump? Because collective evil hides in the collective, where you make it good. You make it attractive. I mean, I mean, Jesus had nothing good to say about the rich. And we've got a whole culture here built on, I think it's 82% of high school boys, I'm sure girls are just as bad. Their goal is to get rich. To get rich. That's what we gotta dislodge. We live next to Texas. We in New Mexico project our whole shadow onto Texas. We tell
There's some Texans.
oh, are there? What cities?
What city is Texas? Dallas.
Dallas, oh yeah, they're bad. Forgive me, I have so many Dallas friends, but the prophets wouldn't waste time pointing out the recent shooting in Dallas. They would talk about the gun culture of the whole state of Texas, which admires guns. It's something to have 21 or 22 of them. That might be the second or third most important point in the book. That evil hides in the collective, where the collective teaches you how to admire evil. You take all the 10 commandments. They're wrong in the individual, but collectively they're good. Murder is bad, don't you murder. But war, we give them badges. You're admired, you're above question. And I'm not here to preach an anti-military sermon, but we've got to recognize we're living with a spiritual schizophrenia. Do you know, to take interest on a loan, the medieval word, anybody know what it is? Usury. Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Till the 11th century, to take interest on a loan was material for excommunication from the Catholic Church. That shows how much we've changed. Because when someone else was down and out, your Christian obligation was to take care of them, not to profit from it. Now, if you'd say that to, you have any savings and loan buildings around here? Any,
Yes.
Everything is, it's all a profit motive. Only God can show us how to undo this monstrosity we've created. And that doesn't mean there aren't good people. But until we address what the two previous popes, and of course Pope Francis, called structural sin, institutional evil, I don't think we're going to get to the real nature of sin. What we Catholics and Protestants wasted our time on was what we call now, what Jesus paid no attention to, by the way, purity codes. It all had to do with usually sexual sin, touching dead bodies, having sex with your neighbor's wife. I hope you don't. But when you localize evil there, that's more what we now call sins of weakness. Whereas what the prophets, and Jesus is a prophet, by the way, what he points to is the collective thinking it's cool to seduce your neighbor's wife or whatever it might be. It's going to take a lot of refashioning, the reforming of the preaching. You want to say something? He always asks good questions. He's one of our best.
If I can pick back up on this theme of St. Francis, following in the prophetic tradition of Jesus and the prophets prior, one of the key elements in seeing through the sort of collective evil is your sort of proximity to that system of evil. So you've often talked about being at the edge of the inside.
The edge of the inside.
And even in your founding of the center, you've reflected about that spatially, the choice to be in New Mexico as a border state, as something at the fringe of the American empire, that was something that was really meaningful to you.
Yeah, where the atom bomb was invented and first dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, like, if maybe you could reflect on, like, even in the founding of the center, like, what's the importance of this spatial relationship for us to see the ways that we've sort of gotten lost in this collective evil? Maybe reflecting on that edge of the inside concept.
Well, to be honest, the reason I moved back there was I had been sent there in 1968 as a deacon. You're a deacon for a year before you're ordained a priest. And I was at Acoma Pueblo, which is a Pueblo Indian tribe. And if you've ever been in New Mexico, it's hard not to fall in love with the culture and the sky. It's blue, 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 triple blue. And once you wake up each day and get used to that, this isn't so attractive. It feels like the sky is pressing down on you. And we're multicultural. We're surrounded by Indian tribes, more than any state, I think. And we're still Hispanic based. We didn't descend from the Puritans. Purity codes, to hear the similarity in words. Yeah. You've got even more undoing to do than we do. We all do, really. But you've got your work cut out for you. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. Gee. So I just moved back after founding a community in Cincinnati. I was there 15 years. I moved back to New Mexico to establish the center. And the other major reason is we were a 3-hour drive from the border. So I had this idea of taking middle-class American people to look back at America from the other side of the Rio Grande and to ask different questions. You didn't have to teach liberation theology. You just lived with a poor Mexican family. And he said, how can life be so different from this side of the river and this side of the river? 2 different worlds. Are you Mexican? Oh, good. I'm glad I said it. Now, our whole neighborhood is bilingual. I walk out the door and they talk English to me because my gringo face. But if they saw you, they'd talk Spanish.
Well, Richard, one of the, I have a quote here from your sort of intent for founding the center.
Let's hear it. What is it?
You said, I've often said that we founded the Center for Action and Contemplation in 1987 to be a place of integration between action and contemplation. I envisioned a place where we could teach activists and social movements to pray and encourage people who pray to live lives of solidarity and justice. At other times, I've heard you reflect as "and" is the most important word in our name.
Not action, not contemplation, and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love if you could just say a little bit more about what were you trying to address with the founding of the center?
Well, I was a child of the 60s, you know that from my age. When I was young and had energy like you have, everybody was social activists, or at least the cool people were. So it didn't take much risk to be for civil rights, it was the way everybody thought. But let me tell you, well, it's not a complete secret. We were also an awfully angry generation. So you see the same theme keeps coming back. I didn't like a lot of social activists. They were judging everybody and everything. It deserved, but see, they were still concentrating on bad individuals. It was only the two last popes who've coined for Catholics the term structural sin and institutional evil. But that's where we got to concentrate our energy. So, what did you ask me?
Your experience of social activism and a deep anger that many of the activists you were around.
So many of them weren't attractive people. You just wanted to get away from them. I just came from a beautiful mass at St. Cecilia Church. My, smiling, happy, good people. Now, apparently they care about social justice a lot. But that's a different world. So we've made the same movement that I saw and talked about in the recent book called From Anger to Tears. I use the poetic word, tears, to sadness. What the world is doing to itself and to one another just makes you want to cry. What's happening in our capital makes you want to cry. And those tears are, if you don't have to physically cry, but they're a much more trustworthy method for conversion. Tears evoke the soul. Tears evoke compassion, sadness. And what I was able to, I hope, make evident is almost every single one of the Jewish prophets starts angry, ends crying about Israel. But most people, including the Jewish people, don't read the prophets. I was told that by Jewish people. Except Jonah on a high holy day, you read Jonah. And he isn't a typical prophet at all. He's one of my heroes. When I get off subject, my mind is getting very poor. Just pull me back.
Yeah.
That's why I have him here.
Yeah.
He knows what I want to say, what I should say.
Just going back to Dawson mentioned the Center for Action and Contemplation, and being a key word. We in this room, and also the folks that we support, are very great at the action part, right? That's like the really great part.
I wish we had more.
I do want to hear a little bit, maybe for our greater sake in some ways, but what do you mean by contemplation? What are the gifts of that? What are the gifts of that for maybe folks that are in social change? Just, yeah.
The way education educates you is to think in binaries. We call it dualistic thinking. You can't be a good mathematician, at least in old math. New math is different. But you're smart if you can go to Boston College and think in either ors. To make distinctions, maybe that would be a way to say it. Smart people make distinctions. And you're the smartest boy in the class if you can make them fast. And it divides the world into two groups. Whatever your frame is, we're suffering from it so much now. Where you have the worthy, the unworthy, the right, the wrong, the black, the white, the gay, the straight. It never stops. So you have to have a method to break that addiction to binary thinking, if you prefer that. That's contemplation. Where you look at things till well, I was a boy, we invented CinemaScope screens. We thought it was just wonderful. The curtain would move out and we'd get a much bigger movie screen. But that's what contemplation feels like. A CinemaScope screen, like, ooh, let's not think it's either or. I mean, probably the most, well, after racism, the reason we have so much trouble with sexuality is we insist there's only Adam and Eve. You may not talk to us of Adam and Steve, because that allows for a third. We don't like anything that allows for a third. It takes away our simplistic thinking. Just go down the line. And once you get that insight, you can't unget it. But you can get it in an angry way or an unangry way. So you have to keep getting it till it softens your heart, till you're attracted to the beauty of the third something, the beauty of the widened screen, the beauty of the softened heart. It takes years to teach it. Now, up to, well, really the time of Francis, 13th century, monasteries still taught this to the church. Not the normal church on the corner, it seems, but we call it now the mystical tradition, which is marginalized now. You got to go to out of the way places to learn it. For many Protestants like Dawson, he knows I tease him. They are Paul, they never had it. They never had it. Those who were even moving that direction, like the Quakers or the, I don't know, the Mennonites. The Mennonites have it? No. A little bit. At least they were kind. But you know, the history of violence and the history of religion are the same history. Now, I'm not telling you that so you all leave your religions. No, we got to do it better, because you can't soften the heart without healthy religion. You'll try to do it all in the rational head. And you stay in that rational head too long, and you get like much of our country is now cynical. Cynical means pessimistic about the very possibility of truth. Cynical about the very possibility that there could be anybody good in Washington. That's going to kill you. You've got to know there still are good people even in Washington. You can't live in a world where you're the only good person. Everybody else is evil. But that's the latest dualism. The liberal will create. So I said to a group this week, we had a wonderful reforming council in the Catholic Church in the 1960s when I was in college, called the Second Vatican Council. And oh, we were so excited to be liberals. We liberalized everything. But you know what we found out 10, 20 years into it? The reformers were liberals, not prophets. Now, you can ask me what the difference is. I hope you do. Prophets aren't just liberals. Liberals are another agenda for being right.
Yes. That's right.
And that's why if you read the prophets, they criticize their own people, in fact, more than anybody else. That's why Jesus said, no prophet can be honored in his own country. Why? Because they criticize their own country first. There's nobody like the prophets. No one does that. Criticize your own group, your own family, your own ego. Always self-criticism first. Once if you go read a prophet later today, pick anyone, Habakkuk, he'll rail at you. What a name, huh? Habakkuk. he'll rail at you for 3 chapters. And then the last 3 verses, he gets sad and sweet. That's what I feel the prophets are doing, is teaching us a developmental theory. I think Michael told me driving here that you're good at this here. You do have to, and I think that's why, who showed me Falling Upward when one of you is reading it. That's still my best-selling book. Why? Because it gives people a developmental theory for growth. We don't just need to be told we're right or we're wrong. We get there over time. And we get there by falling. And the wonderful word of the gospel that Jesus gave us is, I'm going to teach you how to make falling upward, not downward. So you're not afraid of falling. Now, to use our fancy theological word, if you're a Lutheran, you understand. It's called the theology of the cross. Today's gospel, where Thomas touches the wounds of Jesus. You come to God by touching the wounds. Your own, first of all, and approaching the wounds of the world. We spent 2,000 years condemning the people with wounds. Losers, sinners. Francis went where the sin was at, so-called, and helped us see that it wasn't just sin. It wasn't just Francis. Teresa of Lisieux did the same thing. You know the little flower trees? So there's a Vincent de Paul. There's a number of saints really got it. And you come to God not by doing it right, but by doing it wrong. Surprise of surprises. That's the only thing that awakens you. And when I first preached that, I didn't know how to say it, I guess. But they'd come and say, Richard, you're teaching sin. You're teaching that it's okay to sin. I said, I am? I don't think so. But I had to go back and remodel my words a little bit. So Falling Upward became one of those ways to talk about the new agenda of the gospel. Did I answer you?
I think so. Well, one of the themes in the new book is this arc from sort of anger and outrage at collective orders that are unholy, and then you sort of move into this deep sadness, and that the work of prophecy is sort of inviting unholy orders into holy disorder. And that on the other side of this, there's this place of like love and compassion that the prophet moves from. And I'm wondering to sort of tie to Fatih's question of like, what does it look like when those of us engaged in social change are moving from that place of seeing things in whole, or moving from that place of love? Where, I don't know if you have examples of that, or how does it feel different when our change, engagement and change comes from that place?
How do you teach empathy? I'm still not sure I know. How do you teach compassion? I'm sure I don't know how. But I do know you don't get there by thinking.
That's right.
You know, you get there by touching, by ubiquity, by being close to where the tragedy is happening, and realizing the sad state that most people have to face, and the pressures they're under. You're not blessing that state, you're just letting it be your teacher. And they grow up much better with that invitation, I'm not answering your question. I'm just telling you how hard it is.
Yeah.
It's why people just, until they made the walk, I've been calling it in recent talks, learning how to love is walking the plank. I don't know how many of you are married, but can you remember how many days, weeks it took to get the courage to say, I love you, to the boyfriend or the girlfriend that wasn't in the bag yet? What if she doesn't say it back?
That's
What
right.
if he doesn't say it back? Do I really want to say it? Do I really mean it? Do I even know what it means? You've gotta, it's always a walking the plank, and it's always a falling into a field, an ocean, I guess if we're going to carry through the metaphor, much bigger field. That's the third something. You walk the plank, you surrender to not being certain, not being sure she's going to say it back to me. How many months did it take you to say it? He's in. He's engaged. I'm having his wedding in June. It's uncanny what a risk it is to say I love you to another person. Well, if that's true to another person, think what it is to say that to the world. I love you. Or to God, who you're so unworthy of, because that's all you've been told, how unworthy you are. And in fact, those of you who came from a church with the theology of the Holy Spirit, it says that love has been planted in your heart, so it's now you, and you draw upon it as a resource. It's not a choosing to do something you're not, it's a surrendering to something that you are already. Already. It's called your soul. And once you draw from the inner resource of the soul, the Holy Spirit, grace, they're all the same. Life entirely becomes an inside job, not an outer job of moralities, which commandments can you obey today? Jesus didn't really teach, this is going to be shocking to some, the 10 Commandments. He says, so you've heard all those already. That's what he said. He was a good Jewish boy. He knew everybody had heard the 10 Commandments. He says, here's what I teach, and we call them the 8 Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who weep. That became the title of my new book. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the peacemakers. There's no one who can say they've lived the 8 Beatitudes. It's forever a journey of, oh, maybe I got it a little bit today. So it doesn't create smug people. It doesn't create righteous people. I'm not poor in spirit. I think I'm supposed to be. I want to be. I try to be, but I'm not. Wait till I find someone I consider a bad person. I lose it that quickly. I talk this better than I live it.
Thank you so
You know what? I
much.
could use a little water.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Am I answering your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of what I resonated in the tiers of things were definitely the moments where you were critiquing culture or critiquing institutions. And the other parts also had to do with how you spoke about
You're so good.
the importance of vulnerability, right? And I mention that because Well, I came into social change out of a place of anger, of being affected, right, by the systems, and saying, I need to do something about
Most
it.
of us do. We're
Yes.
angry before we're sad.
And in the journey, and I know you said you aren't sure yet if you're committed to the path of the journey. It's been a discovery. For me, it's felt like a commitment in that, not like a commitment I know always that I have to be a part of, but a commitment that I enter in doubt in and have to say, yes, I want to continue to be committed to this path of social change. And that over time has required a lot of vulnerability and an admittance to stay in the heartbreak of doing this work. And so I say all of that because I did want to ask, and this is my last question, but you've been on this path for many decades,
Too long.
and you've dealt with the heartbreak. How, over the years or over your life, what are the things that have either been supportive or what's helped you manage the heartbreak and staying close to the heartbreak?
I was jail chaplain in Albuquerque for 14 years. Those are my first 14 years there. I was founding the center and going down to the jail on weekends. I had to see how wrong I was about so many people. I think of one case of a girl who in the Sandia Mountains, which are right next to us, literally had her womb cut open and the baby stolen. So we all hated her in the morning papers for weeks. It was nothing about Darcy was her name. How could any woman do this to another woman? But she wanted to be a mother so bad, and she couldn't. And it was the only way to have dignity in her family. So I went to the jail the subsequent Sunday after she'd been incarcerated. And they asked me what I hoped they would. They said, Darcy would like to talk with you. I just expected to hate her. Oh, she'd been so, maligned by the Albuquerque press. And who wouldn't dislike a girl who could be so malicious? And I wasn't in that jail cell with her 10 minutes, seeing her eyes, her trembling, her sad story. And I withdrew all my judgments. You have to get it really wrong and be humbled by your wrongness before you get it right a lot of time. Not all the time. But judgments are an analysis without presence. I could analyze it from the press, but to be present to her alone in a cell and hear her side of the story, she had no reason to please me or curry my favor. So I visited her for the next few months. I think she was eventually sent to a women's prison. I figured, what a waste. This girl who was so young, she just wanted to be a mother. She just wanted a little one that she could care for. The way she had never been cared for is what it came down to. In fact, I should find out whatever happened to her. But that's why presence teaches you. And I don't mean to make everybody who's in jail a saint. But what got me into men's work, which Paul and Michael and not yet, he needs some conversion. was I recognize, and this isn't much of an exaggeration, there wasn't a guy in the jail who had a good father. No older man to believe in him, to mentor him, to tell him, do this, son, don't do that. To believe in him when he did something right. And so normally when you don't have that, all authority figures become horrible. You hate them. Fuck the police. That's not going to get you anywhere. Not all authority figures are evil. But that I started the male initiation rites at Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. Michael made it. Paul made it. Where did you make yours? Texas. That was a good team. You haven't made it yet. He's the wayward one. So I created this 5-day event, and I'm not smart enough to give them anymore, but I gave them for 12 years, and now other groups give them, other groups of men. The Texas team is a good team. We don't have one in Massachusetts. I was never very well known on the East Coast. Yeah, it's fine.
And I don't know if you have anything.
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
I wanted to open it up to those in Massachusetts.
Can you give me that glass?
Yes, of course.
There we go.
I want to thank the
Yeah.
Ayni Institute for bringing you here, for everything that you do. The poet Hafiz has a quote that says,
That's fine.
I am a hole in the flute that the
Oh.
Christ's breath moves through.
Yeah. Do you know who said that?
Hafiz.
Yes.
And so I bring it up to thank you for being such a beautiful flute.
Oh, are you kind?
Well, that is my authentic experience of you. Thank you. Thank you for being who you
Oh,
are.
you're beautiful.
I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I can receive the blessings of
Thank
your
you.
transmission. And I wanted to ask you two questions. While also mentioning your other book, the book on the Falling Upward has been central to my life. Your book on the 12 steps.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
breathing
right.
underwater.
Right, which is
Yes.
another development.
Developmental, yeah.
And very, very important to my own.
I only have one or two ideas, really. Just keep saying them in different ways.
Absolutely life-saving and important. I also wanted to quickly, before asking you the question, advertise here a podcast called Divine Intervention, which is about the Catholic left and the anti-Vietnam War movement. It just came out, and the people are Boston-based. The people that live that are Boston-based and the Polish Center, so I think you'll like a Divine Intervention. But not to my actual questions to you. They're different questions. One is, one of the things I'm wrestling with in my own spiritual life and my effort to be of service to the world is there's some part of me that doesn't quite know how to rest, right? And I know that that's not a good idea, that I need to rest, and I just keep going even if what I'm doing is good. But it seems like here you are at 82, continuing to serve as the sacred flute. And I'm wondering how you have found the balance to both contemplate and find stillness and be as prolific as you are. So that's one question. I have a second one. Should I pause?
Yeah.
Okay. Pun intended, right?
Well, you know, the last 15, 20 years, I've lived in a hermitage by myself. That was only allowed in the Franciscans once you'd proven you could live in community and you weren't antisocial.
Yeah.
You weren't a person who just didn't like people. But once you proved that you could work through problems with other people and respect other people and so forth. So thank God I passed the test and they let me live in Hermitage, because I knew I needed to have if I was going to be on the road, and I was on the road for 50 years, if I was going to keep talking these supposedly wise things, I was going to have to make sure they came from a wisdom place, from a loving place, and not just a rash or judgmental place. So my lifestyle lent itself to growing. When you have most Lents for years, I'd spend in total solitude. When you have time for a lot of self-observation, you see the games you're playing. The shadow self, I'm sure you've been told, the shadow is not evil. The shadow is just what you don't want to see about yourself. That's what attracted me to the prophets. They're always pointing out to Israel what Israel doesn't want to see about itself. That its own wars are horrible. 37% of Jews worldwide today disapprove of what Israel is doing in Gaza. I dare say I don't think many Christian nations have critiqued their country at that high a rate. That still is part of Judaism, the capacity for self-criticism. Now, most Jews are just like Christians. Other people's wars are good, are bad, and ours are good. Is that an answer?
That's a helpful answer, yes,
Okay.
for sure. Thank you. I'm going to ask you the second one, not to take up the space here. One of the things I'm finding wisdom in and efforting to help remind us of is our animistic ancestry.
Ooh, go ahead.
Right? It's like what we've done with modernity is like taking the enchantment out of the earth.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what is essential here. So we're talking about wisdom from 2,000 years ago, reflecting on wisdom from 5,000 years ago, and I'm trying to think about wisdom from 70,000 years ago, the one that got us to multiple apocalypses. And I'm wondering, how do we integrate and include the faiths of our parents, right? Which would tend to look at animism as like, oh my God, like no, like that's not good, right? Like those are spirits, and the fact that everything has a spirit, that the mountain and the river have a spirit, and it's worth talking to them.
The indigenous religions, almost all, still they live in an enchanted universe. Our state is called the land of enchantment. I think it's because of the dominance of native peoples. It's much of the underlying message of my book, The Universal Christ. I saw one of you had it earlier. That the incarnation of God in Christ is not just in the body of Jesus, but it's in the body of the universe. The first Bible is creation. If the Bible is teaching about God, just look and observe the blooming spring trees. Observe it. I have a dog that I'm missing already now. If any of you have had a good dog that loves you, if creation itself isn't sacred, what you're calling animistic, we live in a lonely universe where we've got to search for God by creating shrines, and I am all for shrines, but not really. Because once you say this is holy, we Catholics really know how to do it. We just came from St. Cecilia's. You ever been there? God, it's beautiful. But once you create a holy St. Cecilia's, once you walk down the steps like we just did, then is this unholy? The street out in front? So that's the danger. That's why Jesus said, you've got to, critiquing his own religion, you've got to tear down this temple. which you will. And he loved the temple. He preached in the temple. But once you make temple, you make non-temple. Darn it. How come that's dualistic thinking again? Now, did you use the word transcend and include?
I did.
There's order, disorder, reorder. Reorder is when you can do both. I still can love the temple. It was just so pretty today. I don't get to go to pretty Catholic churches like that too often. But it didn't stop being pretty when I got into the Uber and was driven over here. Now I'm liberated. Now I'm free. It's one sacred universe. Animistic is the term we created to apply to pre-Christian religions.
Right.
But it never occurred to us that the pre-Christian religions had discovered, I think, Paul, you like this phrase, the Christ-soaked world. I think it's the most quoted phrase from my book, The Universal Christ. It's already a Christ-soaked world. Now, so you know I'm not a heretic. Where did I get that from? The first book of the Bible. God created it and it was good. God created it and it was good. You're so good. God created it and it was good. God created it and it was very good. The Bible starts so positive. And then we have this little mistake in chapter 3 where we Catholics put all of our energy and call it original sin, a word that isn't even in the Bible. Came from Augustine. He meant well, I'm sure. But we got along for 4 centuries without it. And we became a problem-solving religion. How to solve the problem of sin. Protestants were even worse at that than we were. They really thought they could stamp out sin. Another form of dualistic thinking. You're sinners, and I'm not one. That's the refusal to face your shadow. Because every one of you, I don't know you personally, but you all have things you don't want to know about yourself. You don't want other people to know about themselves. They're so well hidden, they're hidden even from you.
That's right.
Now we have good therapists to help us. We used to have confessors in the Catholic Church who we could go and, well, we still have them, if you care to make use of a good one, that you could supposedly tell anything to. Anything. And he was supposed to be prepared to receive it. And it's true. Once sin, so-called, does not shock you, but you realize it's just a purity code. What men do, I'll pick on men again, they push in their sexual sin the second to the last. That's the best hiding place. You say the first little, oh, I was impatient with my wife 3 times. I missed church 4 times. I masturbated 6 times. And it's always squeezed in because that's where your shadow is, your greatest shame. Always it has to do with body sins. You want to trap somebody and trap them in their embodiment. People still know that with politicians. Expose their embodiment. And here we're supposed to be, if you're Christian, we're supposed to be the religion that believes God became a body. And then we made the body so bad. He wasn't good. He wasn't very good, as Genesis said. So let's start where the Bible starts. This is why we owe so much to the Jews. It starts with Genesis 1. And then it has the little disorder. In Genesis 3, we made the subtext, Genesis 3, the text, how to get rid of sin. in ourselves and others. And it became a judgmental, moralistic religion, lasting till we landed on the shores of Massachusetts. Puritanism. Gee, what a waste of time. What a waste of time.
I know we have only a little bit more time, but maybe one, if there's another question.
I don't know. Oh,
Does anyone else over there have? I've been thinking a lot about what you said, I guess just now, but about the collective evil.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've been holding is that many things are true at once. And often
That's
the
right.
collective evil
That's right.
moves and is able to flourish more through deflection.
Yeah.
And I'm holding this right now because we're seeing what is happening in Gaza. My family's from India, and I'm seeing what's happening in Indian-occupied Kashmir. And it is hard to hold sort of how these many truths, right? That any violence is not good, any violence
We weren't
is
taught.
bad,
That's
but resistance to occupation, even if that means through violent means, right? Like, how do you hold all of those things together? I guess I'm just curious, like, you know, where, and maybe deflection is a way of dual thinking, which we need to break out of like, there's a collective evil, but they're gonna deflect and say that, like, the individual person's evil or some other, for us in India, my family's all Hindu, and they're all saying, oh, the Muslims are doing this, right? Like, it's a deflection.
And yet Hinduism is rooted in non-dual thinking.
Right, but like, how
Yes.
do you, so I guess when you're faced with these many truths, and we're not raised or taught to hold them all at once,
No one
what are
points
some
out
ways in
to
which
us.
you have been able to arrive in a place that you can?
Well, mine was the exposure to early Franciscanism and the mystical tradition, which has always been a subtext. It's always been there. They first started with the Desert Fathers, who went off to Egypt and Palestine and Eastern Turkey, Syria. Some of the hot spots still to this day were where Christianity was the most mystical. So mystical does not mean unreal or mystified or abstract. It means heartfelt, experiential knowledge of God. Not rational, post-enlightenment, which is what we've been given. Here we are in the city with more universities than any American city. So you produce a lot of smart people. And I'm sure you produce a lot of enlightened people too. But the liberal equates rationalism with smartness, having an answer for everything. In fact, your culture, the Hindu religion, the oldest of the world religions after animism, that's why they had so many gods, which we called paganism. You don't have trouble with several gods. You know, we Catholics call them paganism, or my mind is tiring. But any of you who are raised Catholic or walk around, you want to point out how many statues of Mary there are.
yes, that's right. How many names for Mary as well?
How many statues of Mary compared to statues of Jesus? So many people raised with angry fathers, let's just change the focus. I was raised by Irish nuns, and I'll tell you, Sister Ephraim, they would wheel her in her wheelchair, and she'd say, now children, let me tell you a story. When you go to heaven, the first one you're going to see is Peter at the gate. Just sneak by him. How she knew. And you're going to see Jesus on the throne. And you're going to see God the Father there behind Jesus. Without saying it, she was saying, notice they're all men. And she says, I want to tell you a secret. Now this is sincere. Protestants No wonder you tried to reform us Catholics. She said, run around to the right. And the back window of heaven, Mary is standing there with her rosary out the window. And she'll pull you in. It's horrible theology. It's heretical theology. But if you had a mother who forgave you no matter what, and a dad who beat you no matter what, you believe, oh, yeah. Don't expect Peter to get it. Don't expect Jesus to get it. I know that's terrible. But when you're a little kindergarten, you're Catholic, we have the secrets of salvation. Run to Mary. It sent us down a path that did become an avenue of unconditional love. The woman, the most common statue of Mary was like this. Just look. Come on. Who of us wasn't received by our mothers that way, holding us, huh? Their trust comes immediately. So all we did was change the gender of God. We refused to admit that. But Mary was, for all practical purposes, our God figure. I was in France. Any of you French? Where, I mean, every other church is Notre Dame. In our world, it's Nuestra Senora, Our Lady. But the redeeming thing about it is, notice the pronoun is plural. Nuestra, notre, our. It was a collective. We share this common mother. So that kept us inside of the gospel. Even though you good Protestants came along and said, well, what happened to Jesus? We didn't know what to say, so we just separated ourselves from you, accusing us of heresy. Well, you can't accuse us of heresy because we accused you first. It's also laughable. Can you give me once more a little water?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Well, Richard, I'm wondering if to close, a lot of this group is going to leave here and go back.
Confused.
A lot of this group will leave here, and tomorrow, part of their work, part of their vocation, is going to be to move towards the suffering of the world in some way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And through their work, through their vocation, committed to realizing a vision where all people can actually thrive at the expense of none. But I'm wondering if you, in close, could give a blessing to a group that's committed to realizing change in the world.
Can I add to that blessing?
Yeah.
For this space, we are so grateful for Ayni and for all that we have learned from y'all. And so excited about what's happening here and the space here and how much we've learned here. So maybe you can include the space too.
Maybe I come on?
Include the space too.
Oh yeah, bless
It's
the
a new
space.
building.
Pope Francis, who we're honoring so much these days, he said, you don't give a blessing because someone has earned it. You give it to someone because they've asked for it. Why didn't someone think of that earlier in the Catholic world? Give me a blessing, Father. No, you're not. You're gay. I can't give you a blessing. What a waste of time. If anybody talks to you that way, they don't get the gospel. So may we all know the height. May we all know the length. May we all know the depth. May we all know the breadth of the love that surpasses knowledge. May we know that we are all beloved sons and beloved daughters of God, and may this beloved building hold you safely in such a love. We ask this in all the holy names of God, and Mary and Jesus too. So you know I'm Orthodox.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.